2 centuries ago, in 1825, the dramatic bluffs overlooking the Mississippi River, once home to the Fox and Sauk peoples, witnessed the birth of a new frontier when from the wilds of Pike County, Illinois, Adams County was created, a region proudly named after the nation's 6th president, John Quincy Adams, who was president in 1825. The story begins with the bold 21-year-old John Wood, who left New York in 1819 with the promise of opportunity. Pushing westward towards St. Louis, Wood crossed paths with Willard Keyes. The pair ventured north, staking their claim as pioneers by farming the fertile land of Pike County. Drawn by the allure of the federal military bounty lands, Wood set his sights on acquiring land on the banks of the Mississippi. In the fall of 1822, he built a rustic one-story log cabin at what is now Front and Delaware. The settlement soon grew. In the spring of 1823, Major Jeremiah Rose and his family joined Wood, bringing new energy and ambition to the budding community. A year later, Willard Keyes established his own log cabin at the foot of Vermont Street, strategically positioned along the Mississippi, where riverboats paused on their journeys. This simple cabin became more than a home. It served as Adams County's very first courthouse, anchoring the fledgling city's own civic life and laying the foundation for Quincy's future as a vibrant river town. Hi, I'm Chuck Schultz, Chairman of the Adams County Bicentennial Commission. In the next few minutes, we'll look back at the rich history of our area and how we became who we are today. Let's start with one of the foundation of our county's and our country's greatness: education.
Education was a high priority with early settlers. Justice Perigo built the first school in the county in Fall Creek in 1825. The original wooden structure was replaced in 1860 by the still standing stone building, Bluff Hall School. Over 219 one-room schools were built in Adams County, with 55 still standing. Important things happened in our schools.
At Maplewood School, William S. Gray was a teacher in 1904 and 1905.
A native of Coatesburg, he went on to fame as the creator of the Dick and Jane readers used in schools across the country from 1930 through the 1970s. Another fun fact: the Big Chief writing notebook used for decades by children to practice their penmanship also originated in Adams County. William Albrecht designed the familiar tablet in 1879 at his family's stationery store in Quincy. Agriculture is a mainstay of our rural county, with the Agricultural Society being formed on January 6, 1838.
In 1872, Henry Eminga constructed Prairie Mill, a Dutch-style windmill still standing and working in Golden.
Mormon's Hog Tonic Manufacturing Company came to Quincy in 1908. It grew into one of the leading livestock feed companies in America, and it was purchased by ADM in 1997.
The early German immigrants in Adams County faced a long and arduous trip here. After roughly 60 days crossing the Atlantic, they often landed in New Orleans. The steamship voyage from New Orleans to Quincy was often no better. They often faced diseases like typhus, yellow fever, and cholera in both New Orleans and on the journey. The trip from St. Louis to Quincy could be 8 days alone. Many times craftsmen in Europe, these Germans settled into jobs like merchants, grocers, sawmill operators, factory workers, and farmers. Many settled into homes in the southwest quadrant of Quincy and owned a domesticated farm animal or two. This area became known as Calf Town.
Adams County also became a center of industry and invention. In 1848, Herman Knapide founded a wagon company in Quincy. By 1937, it had shifted to automotive bodies, and today, over 175 years later, it is the nation's leading manufacturer of truck bodies. In 1860, Robert Gardner of Quincy patented an engine governor that greatly reduced the danger of steam engines exploding. 165 years later, Gardner Denver Company is a global provider of compressors and vacuum pumps. In 1890, John Stillwell founded the Electric Wheel Company, manufacturing wheels for farm implements. The company became today's Titan Wheel. At one point, Adams County had 400 factories and shops that made everything from elevators to radios to TVs.
In the 1920s, Quincy served as an incubator for the burgeoning radio industry. Bill Lear, of Learjet fame, Elmer Wavering, president of Motorola, inventor of both the car radio and the walkie-talkie, and Parker Gates, whose radio broadcast equipment was used worldwide, all had small shops on Quincy's Main Street.
Adams County naturally became an industrial hub due to easy access to river transportation and train transport after the arrival of the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad in 1855.
In 1838, a group of Protestant ministers opened a new school called the Mission Institute. The school had campuses in Quincy and in numerous places throughout Adams County. The school promoted radical new ideas, including abolishing slavery. On July 11, 1841, perhaps tired that simply preaching slavery was immoral had not caused any changes, 3 men from the Mission Institute, Thompson, Work, and Burr, crossed the river into Marion County, Missouri, determined to liberate 5 enslaved people. Unfortunately, they were apprehended, marched to the Palmyra jail, later tried, convicted, and sentenced to 12 years in prison in the Jefferson City Penitentiary. Their efforts led to members of the Congregationalist and Presbyterian churches to actively pledge their assistance to enslaved people to escape bondage through civil disobedience of the Black Code. This was the beginning of the famed Underground Railroad. On August 21, 1842, Dr. Richard Eels of Quincy attempted to help a slave named Charles. He was caught and charged with harboring a slave. He was eventually found guilty and fined $400. There's a direct connection between these Adams County abolitionists and the ensuing upheaval in slaveholding Missouri and the Dred Scott case, slavery being the main topic. The 6th Lincoln-Douglas debate was held in Quincy, Illinois on October 13, 1858. An astonishing crowd, estimated between 10,000 and 15,000 people, gathered to witness the political clash. Lincoln delivered a powerful and uncompromising argument that slavery was both a political issue and a profound moral wrong. Stephen Douglas, in contrast, steadfastly defended his doctrine of popular sovereignty, which was the idea that each territory should decide the fate of slavery for itself. Douglas sidestepped the moral ground. This led to a bigger question. Was slavery a fundamental evil to be contained, as Lincoln insisted, or a local choice enshrined in constitutional rights, as Douglas argued? The debate placed Lincoln on the path to the presidency. Adams County could not avoid the storm set off by Lincoln's election and an increasing number of states seceding from the Union. Not long after, the Civil War began. General Grant came through Quincy on the 12th of July, 1861, and in January 1864, the only black regiment formed in Illinois, the 29th U.S. Colored Infantry, departed Quincy. They would achieve fame for their bravery in the Battle of the Crater at St. Petersburg, Virginia. Despite slavery being abolished, life for African Americans in Adams County remained harsh. Nevertheless, many black citizens have made indelible contributions to the world. In 1886, Father Augustus Tolton, America's first black priest, returned to Quincy from Rome. In 1939, Quincy native and decorated Tuskegee Airman George Iles received his pilot's license while enrolled at Quincy College. In 1959, Michelle Kreider, a world-renowned opera star, was born in Quincy. Many others improved the local community through their hard work. In addition to the Civil War, Adams County was involved in other national events. In the winter of 1838, when Joseph Smith and his fellow Mormons were forced to flee Missouri, Quincy families gave them shelter. This event has been called by historians the Quincy Miracle. Smith then traveled north to adjacent Hancock County and established Nauvoo in 1839. Also in 1838, the Potawatomi Trail of Death occurred. Starting on the 4th of September, about 859 Native Americans were forced to march by militia from Twin Lakes, Indiana. The 660-mile trek lasted 61 days and over 40 people died, most of them children. On October 8th through 10th, they camped on Quinsippy Island. While in Quincy, they were allowed to attend Mass at St. Boniface Catholic Church. Their exile ended near present-day Osawatomie, Kansas.
On July 4, 1887, Thomas Baldwin captivated a crowd at Singleton Park, now the location of Baldwin School, with a parachute jump from 5,000 feet in the air. The feat sparked national attention. Baldwin was soon in demand for his amazing bravery and skill and performed across both the United States and in Europe. He went on to design both dirigibles and winged aircraft and served as a major in the U.S. Army Air Corps during World War I.
In 1945, Quincy-born Paul Tibbets flew into history as the pilot of the Enola Gay, a B-29 bomber he named after his mother. On August 6, 1945, the atomic bomb Little Boy was dropped over Hiroshima. For that infamous 12-hour flight, Tibbets was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross.
Other notable residents include actors like Mary Astor, David Ketchum, Roy Brocksmith, John Anderson, and Jane Morris.
Sports figures include Rick Reichel, Paul Reichel, El Tappy, Mel Tappy, Josh Raby, and D.A. Wybring. Musician Bob Havens.
Olympians Karen Kemner and Nicole Kramer. Politicians Orville Hickman Browning and Stephen Douglas.
Arts and culture also played a large role in the 200 years of Adams County. As early as 1831, John Chittenden served as the first music educator, giving vocal music lessons from his log cabin in Quincy. He established Minden in 1833, where members of his family later performed in the Congregational Church Orchestra. In the 1860s, an opera house was erected at 6th and Main in Quincy. On October 8, 1909, the John Philip Sousa Concert Band performed at the Empire Theater in Quincy.
Significantly, the Quincy Society of Fine Arts was the first community arts council in the nation. Founded by Quincy native George Irwin in 1947, he became the first president and founder of the Illinois Arts Council and founded the American Council for the Arts. He also founded other Quincy music organizations and was a noted preservationist. In addition to music, theater was integral to Adams County. In 1909, the first Chautauqua was held in Camp Point.
This form of summer recreation with speakers and pageants was popular in rural America at the end of the 19th century and into the 20th. This led to the formation of the Quincy Community Little Theater in 1923, spearheaded by Quincy actress Lucy Daisy, wife of Charles T. Daisy, a playwright from Lima. His melodrama in Old Kentucky, written in 1892, was performed on Broadway and across America for 26 years. QCLT performed in various venues, from Lippincott Hall on the Veterans Home to the Empire Theater. After World War II, the theater was revived as an outdoor summer theater at the Art Barn. In 1964, a year-round venue was created in the Trinity Parish Hall. Barbara Rao, a local actress, became the artistic director from 1968 through 2006 with 136 productions to her credit, and overseeing the move to QCT's new home at the Oakley-Lindsay Center in 1995. Architects also flourished in Adams County. Notably, Harvey Chatton and Ernest Wood designed the Richardsonian Romanesque Newcomb House in 1891. Wood went on to introduce the Prairie School to Quincy, as seen in his office constructed in 1911. John Benya was a proponent of the mid-century modern style. He designed more than 500 buildings, including St. Boniface Church and the Quincy Regional Airport Terminal. We have also produced visual artists such as illustrator Mesa McMahon, painter Fritzie Morrison, photographer Candace Reed, and sculptor Kirk St. Mar. Also authors such as historian Carl Landrum, Pulitzer Prize winners Alan Nevins and James B. Stewart, and sports journalist Richard Lowell Hummel.
2 centuries later, Adams County is still flourishing, despite weathering the cholera epidemic of 1849, the blizzard of 1914, the flu epidemic of 1919, the tornado of 1945, the Great Flood of 1993, and the COVID of the 2020s. We still are largely an agricultural community with over 85 sesquicentennial farms. They've been in the same family for 150 years or more. We've maintained much of our industrial base and have grown into a regional medical center, expanding from the 1867 roots of St. Mary's Hospital and the Denmans founding of Blessing Hospital in 1875. We look forward to seeing what the next 200 years holds.